Hello, dear grade 2 teacher aspirants. Welcome to my Grammar for Success channel. I am Coresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In this video, I am going to teach you Sonnet 30 written by William Shakespeare. I therefore request all of you to watch this video very carefully till the end without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to like and share this video with all your good friends who are also going to take the grade 2 teacher examination along with you. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the video. Sonnet 30 went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. So this is the very first line of the Sonnet 30 that has been written by William Shakespeare. And before I teach you this poem, I would like to give you some introduction both to the poet and to the poem. First of all, I would like to give you some introduction to the poet. Here you pay attention. A brief introduction to the poet. William Shakespeare was born in April 1564 at Stratford upon Avon, Warwickshire, England. So these details are well known to all of you. Even then, I have given you this very first point here. And here you pay attention. He was renowned for 37 plays. That means in his lifetime, Shakespeare wrote as many as 37 plays, and he also wrote 154 sonnets, and they were all published in the year 1609, and two long narrative poems. What are they? Venus and Adonis, that was published in 1593, and The Rape of Lucrece, and this was published in 1594. These poems were dedicated to his patron, the Earl of Southampton. So these details are also very, very important for your examination, and that's why I have given them here. And you go to the next important point. He is regarded as the greatest dramatist in English literature. So he was regarded as the greatest dramatist. Okay, other dramatists are also there, but this is regarded the greatest dramatist in the English literature, and a writer of universal human issues. That means he wrote his plays almost on all human issues, almost on all problems of the human beings. And another important point about the poems of Shakespeare is all his poems were written in iambic pentameter. So that means, almost all of his sonnets were written only in iambic pentameter. What is this iambic pentameter? Let me give you some idea about this iambic pentameter. First of all, try to understand about this iambic. What is this iambic? This is derived from the noun that is iamb. Okay. What is this iamb? Iamb is a combination of an unstressed syllable, okay, an unstressed and a stressed syllable. That means, this iamb is a mixture of these two syllables. And to make you keep this idea in your mind, I would like to take the help of the musical note. For example, unstressed means this is the, and this dhum, stressed is always indicated like this, the dhum. This is called one iamb, iambic foot, iamb or iambic foot, whatever you can call it. So iambic pentameter. Pentameter means in that poetic line there will be 5 iambic feet will be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, dadhum, 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 dadhum. Like that, there will be 5 iambic feet in one poetic line. Therefore, this line is called iambic pentameter. Penta means 5. So 5 iambic feet will be there in that poetic line, and therefore that line is called an iambic pentameter. In this way, this Shakespeare wrote almost all his sonnets in this iambic pentameter only, and maintaining what? The rhyme scheme AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. So this is the rhyme scheme he has followed, and you know very well about the kinds of sonnets. There are 2 kinds of sonnets in the English language: Petrarchan sonnet or Italian sonnet, and Shakespearean sonnet. And this is the sonnet model that was introduced by Shakespeare himself, and that's why this style of sonnet is called Shakespearean sonnet, because it maintains only this rhyme scheme: AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, and GG. That point is clear, and you go to the next important point. His sonnets explore time. You know very well. They talk about time, they talk about love, they talk about loss, they talk about beauty, memory, and immortality. That means his sonnets deal only with all these important aspects and combining emotional depth with strict poetic form. So they maintain strict poetic form. Okay, and they also maintain some kind of emotional depth in those poems. Even in our present poem sonnet 30 also you can find some kind of emotional depth. So that you are going to learn in this poem. And you move on to the next important point. Is the 37 plays are traditionally classified into tragedies, comedies, histories, and romances. So he wrote, you know very well, 37 plays. Okay, and all these 37 plays have been divided or classified into these four groups: tragedies, comedies, histories, and romances. He perfected the use of blank verse. You know, there are two kinds of verse: blank verse, free verse. Blank verse means unrhymed iambic pentameter. That means, you know, that poetic line will have 5 iambic feet, but it will be unrhymed. No rhyme scheme will be there. Rhyme means, do you know? Rhyme lends some kind of musicality or sweetness to the poem. Pussycat, pussycat, where have you been? I have been to London to look at the Queen. Been Queen. This is called rhyme. You know very well about this. And unrhymed iambic pentameter lines are called blank verse. Free verse means no meter, no rhyme. That is called free verse. Nowadays, most of the poets are writing poems in English only in free verse. And only in those days, those poems stuck to the prosody, stuck to the meter, and they only wrote blank verse or some poetry following the metrical patterns and all that. And those were the golden days. They followed the metrical feet scrupulously, they followed the rhyme scheme scrupulously, and they did all those things. But nowadays, you know, the modern poets are not following all those rules because they find it very difficult to follow the metrical patterns and all that, and they are only writing poetry in free verse. You know that very well. And you move on to the next one. And he made extensive use of soliloquies. Soliloquies means what? It's a kind of a speech, okay, delivered by one character on the stage, and his thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires can be heard only by the audience, but not by the co-artists or co-characters and all that. Okay, that is called soliloquy. To be or not to be, that is the famous dialogue of Hamlet, you know very well. And dramatic irony. Dramatic irony means, do you have any idea about the dramatic irony? That means, you know, the audience and the readers will know what is going to happen next in the story rather than the characters themselves. So that is called dramatic irony. Okay, all these things you know pretty well. His major tragedies are, what are his major tragedies? Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, King Lear. Okay, these are his major tragedies. His other tragedies are, what are his other tragedies? Here you pay attention. Romeo and Juliet, you know very well about this great play, and Julius Caesar, a wonderful play, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus and Timon of Athens, Titus Andronicus. So these are his tragedies, and all these tragedies deal with human suffering. So in all these tragedies, you can come across the human suffering only, and they also deal with the fatal flaws. Fatal flaws means they are classically called hamartia. Please, this is a literary term. Please keep this point in your mind, because you know the fatal flaw that is mentioned in these tragedies is called classically or technically hamartia. That point is clear. And like excessive pride, okay, excessive pride, that is called hubris. Again, this is also an important point. Because of excessive pride, the hero will bring upon him some kind of destruction. And ambition, excessive jealousy, indecision or overthinking, stubbornness, because these are all called fatal flaws that you can come across in these tragedies. And because of these fatal flaws, the protagonists of these plays, the heroes of these plays, have brought upon them death and destruction. This is all about his major tragedies briefly. His major comedies are, what are his major comedies? Here you pay attention. A Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, The Merchant of Venice. So these are his major comedies, and other comedies are also there. What are his other comedies? Much Ado About Nothing, The Taming of the Shrew, The Comedy of Errors, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, Love's Labour's Lost, All Is Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure. So these are his other comedies. Okay, these are his major comedies, these are his minor comedies, and these plays focus on love. Okay, all these comedies focused on love, misunderstanding, disguise, wit, okay, happy endings. So all these things you can come across in these comedies of William Shakespeare. His major history plays are Richard II, Henry IV, Part 1, Part 2, Henry V, Richard III. So these are his major history plays, and other histories are also there. What are his other histories? Henry VI, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, King John and Henry VIII. So all these are his histories. And in these histories, what did William Shakespeare tell the people? Means, here you pay attention. These plays dramatize, deal with what? English political history, mainly focusing on kings and national identity. So all these history plays will deal with English political history. Romances means plays dealing with love and all that. Tempest, The Winter's Tale, Cymbeline, Pericles, and all that. And here these plays were written in Shakespeare's later years. At the end of his poetic career, he composed these plays, and these plays will combine tragedy and comedy and end in forgiveness and reconciliation. Reconciliation means compromise, and forgiveness means, very well, pardon. So in this way, these romances, combine these two kinds of elements, tragical elements and comical elements. So these two kinds of elements you can find in them, and they end in forgiveness and reconciliation. So this is all about his romances. And you go to the next important point about his poetry. Shakespeare's language is rich in imagery. You can find a lot of imagery. Imagery means mental pictures. Whenever you read something, you visualize that. That visualized picture is called imagery. You know that very well. And metaphor and musicality you can find in his poetry. All musicality, musical sweetness you can find, and making his works timeless. And therefore, even today they are worth reading, and people are reading them for BA literature students and for ME English literature students. So these plays were prescribed for study. You know that very well. And not only for the literature students, even the general people, ordinary people are also going through these dramas, and they are also enjoying them very much. Okay, and universally relevant. They are relevant even for these days also. That's why this is called universally relevant. The last point about this poet is one of his praiseworthy contributions to the literary world was enriching English with over 1700 new words and expressions. Through his writings, through his poetry, and he coined new words. He brought into existence new words. How many new words? As many as 1700 new words and expressions into existence. Even today, people are making use of them extensively in their everyday life. So this is the greatness of this William Shakespeare. His contribution to the literary domain is really praiseworthy, okay, and memorable, and all that. Excellent contribution he has made to the literary world. Okay, and now let us move on to learn a few things about the poem that we are going to learn in this video. A brief introduction to the poem. Here you pay attention. William Shakespeare's Sonnet 30 is one of the most deeply personal and philosophical poems. That means in this poem, Sonnet 30, he is expressing his own personal feelings about his life, about his thoughts and all that. So in that way, this is the most deeply personal poem. And it is also a philosophical poem. And you go to the next important point about this poem. It explores means deals with, okay, deals with what? love and friendship that have the power to heal emotional wounds. You see, love has the power to heal the emotional wounds of a person, and friendship also has the power to heal the emotional wounds that are caused by time and memory. Okay, over the period of time, one might get wounds of sufferings, sorrows, worries, okay, losses, and all such things. But love and friendship are there to heal those emotional wounds. So that is the thing the poet tells us in this poem. And you go to the next one. It was first published in 1609. That point you know very well, as part of Fair Youth sequence. So Fair Youth sequence of poems were there. 154 sonnets are there. They are called the Fair Youth sequence poems. Okay, and as a part of this Fair Youth sequence of sonnets or poems, this poem was published in 1609. Okay, in this way, almost all his sonnets were published in 1609 only. It describes the melancholy of the poet. The poem deals with the melancholy. Melancholy means sorrow of the poet when he silently recalls past sorrows, lost friends, missed opportunities, and feels renewed grief as memories resurface. In this poem, what happens now? The poet thinks about his past sorrows, lost friends, missed opportunities, and feels again the grief as if they were again present before him. So that is the thing this poet does in this poem. He laments his wasted time. In this poem, the poet mourns wasted time means the lost time. L-O-S-T lost, not L-E-S-T lost. So he laments his lost time because the poet knows the value of time. He thinks that time is very valuable, time is very precious, and he also thinks that if the time is lost, it is tantamount to lost success. And that is why he regrets his waste of time. And he also laments his beloved friends buried in the eternal silence of death. He also mourns the death of his beloved friends. Okay, and in this way he laments his wasted time. One point, he laments the beloved friends who were buried in the eternal silence of death. Okay, and in the concluding lines, Shakespeare finds comfort in the thought of a dear friend. So in the last two lines of this poem, Shakespeare remembers his dear friend, and whose remembrance compensates for all former losses and restores emotional balance. So in the concluding lines, Shakespeare gets some kind of comfort and solace and some kind of relief because he remembers his dear friend, and his dear friend's remembrance memories will compensate all his former losses and restore his emotional balance. So this is the point you are going to learn in this very beautiful poem. The last point about this poem is, thus it stands out, okay, for its sincerity. Stands out means famous for its sincerity. It is also famous for introspective tone, because in this poem the poet is examining himself. That's called self-examination, introspection. And just like a judge, he examines his past experiences, his sorrows, his worries, his sufferings, and all his past he examines very critically, very carefully, very impartially. And that is therefore called introspective tone. And it is also famous for universal appeal. That means the poem is also making a universal appeal that all people should examine themselves. They must go for introspection. They must go for self-examination. Through that self-examination, the people will come to know whether they have led a good life or bad life so far. Also things you can come to know only through self-examination, right? Making it one of the most touching sonnets in Shakespeare's collection. And in this way, this poem which is famous for its sincerity, which is famous for its introspective tone, which is famous for its universal appeal. And that is why it is called one of the most touching sonnets of William Shakespeare. So on the whole, this is going to be a wonderful poem. I'm going to take up the poem now. Please listen to this poem very carefully, line by line, word by word meaning I'm going to give you. Okay, if you have any problem, please make a mention of it in the comment section. Okay, I'm here to answer all of them. Even if you write your comments in your Rajasthani language, I will translate it in English and I will answer only in English, but you make your comments if possible in English, if not possible in your Rajasthani language. Okay, right. Now let us move on to learn the poem. Hello, dear grade 2 teacher aspirants. Now I'm going to take up the poem. Please listen to it very attentively. Here you pay attention. This is the first quatrain. You know very well. In the Shakespearean sonnet, there will be 3 quatrains and 1 couplet. So this is the first quatrain, and in this quatrain you find 4 lines. And now I am going to give you the meaning of these 4 lines. And here you pay attention. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought, I summon up remembrance of things past. Now let me give you the meaning of these 2 lines very quickly. Now you look at this word sessions. The sessions is a legal term. Shakespeare has used this word sessions deliberately. Sessions means, you know very well, sessions court. Okay, sessions court, where the judge will sit and examine the case very carefully and very impartially in order to give some judgment. So that is the meaning of this sessions court. And here the Shakespeare is comparing his mind to this sessions court. And now to the sessions court of his mind, he summons up. Summons up. This is also a legal term. Summon up means call with authority. Call with authority. But here, call deliberately. That is the meaning you have to take from this. Call deliberately, not casually, but deliberately. So he calls deliberately what? Remembrance. Remembrance means memories. Memories of what? Things past. Things past means past experiences. And what kind of experiences? Here are given these 2 things, sweet and silent. Sweet means pleasant, and silent means painful. So here from these 2 lines, now you can take the meaning like this. One day, to the sessions court of his mind, the poet William Shakespeare calls deliberately all the memories of past experiences that are both pleasant and painful. Why? In order to judge, in order to examine them very carefully. So for that purpose, he has called back all those thoughts to the sessions court of his mind. So that is the meaning of these 2 lines. Now you go to the meaning of the next line. I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought. So later on, he sighs. Sighs means what? He feels very sad. Okay. Why? The lack of. The lack of means the failure. Lack means here the failure. The failure of what? Many a thing. Many a thing means many things. Many things means what are those things? Many desires. Okay. Many goals. Okay. Many goals or many ambitions. Okay. And I sought means he wanted to achieve these desires, goals and ambitions, but he could not do that. And that is why the poet feels very sad about the failure of achieving many of his desires, many of his goals, and many of his ambitions, which he wished for or which he tried to achieve in his life. And that is the meaning of this 3rd line. Now you go to the meaning of the 4th line. And with old oaths, new veil, my dear times waste. You know, Shakespeare remembers his old oaths. Old oaths means past sorrows. Okay, he remembers his past sorrows. And new veil means fresh crying. Fresh crying. That means he remembers the pain of these past sorrows and feels very sad, as if they were fresh again, as if they were new again. And later on, he also laments or he also mourns what? Dear times waste. Dear times waste means precious time he has wasted. Okay, Shakespeare thinks that time is very precious and time is also very valuable, and therefore he thinks that the loss of time is the greatest loss, and he is also of the opinion that the lost time hurts more than the lost success, and therefore in this line the poet regrets the waste of time. He laments the waste of time, and he also renews his grief over his past sorrows. So in this way, this is the meaning of this beautiful first quatrain. Now look at the meaning of this second quatrain. Then can I drown an eye unused to flow for precious friends hid in death's dateless night. So now let me give you the meaning for these two lines. Can I drown an eye? Drown an eye means fill the eyes with tears. The poet wants to fill his eyes with tears, though he is unused to flow. That means he is not a habitual crier. That means he is not accustomed to crying, though he is not habituated to crying or to weeping. He wants to fill the eyes with tears. Why? Just for the sake of his precious friends. Precious friends means most intimate friends or close friends or dearest friends. What kind of friends? Who hid? Hid means what? Who were hidden. Who were hidden. Hidden means, in other words, buried. Okay, or lost, in other words. Where? In death's dateless night. In death's dateless night means, let me give you the meaning of this beautiful phrase. Death, you know very well. Dateless means timeless. Okay, timeless, or you can also call it eternal. Okay, right. Night means it has got two meanings. Its literal meaning is darkness. Okay, darkness, and its figurative meaning is silence, because night is symbolic of silence. During the night you can find only silence all over the place, and therefore now you can take the meaning like this. In the eternal silence of death, in the eternal silence of death, these precious friends of this poet were hidden or were buried. For those precious friends, he would like to mourn, he would like to lament, he wants to fill his eyes with tears, though he is not used to crying, though he is not accustomed to crying, he wants to weep for these precious friends. So that is what he wants to do in these two lines. And you go to the next line of this stanza. What is this? And weep afresh love's long since cancelled. Oh, here you see, weep afresh means he wants to mourn. Okay, mourn or lament, whatever the word you can use. Afresh means freshly. He wants to mourn freshly. Why? He wants to mourn freshly. For what? For love's long since cancelled. Oh, here now you take the meaning of this love's oh. Love's oaths means what? Pains of love. That is the meaning. Love's oaths means pains of love. Long since means, in other words, very old. Okay, long since means very old. Now you get the meaning. Very old pains of love. What kind of pains of love? Cancelled. Cancelled means that were already over. That were already over. That were over. That were already lamented. That were already experienced. That is the meaning it conveys. And you know very well about the pains of love. And what are the pains of love? You know very well. Pains of love. Okay, there are several pains of love. That means, love brings pain to the hearts. For example, pain of separation. When the lovers are separated because of some reason or the other, what happens? That brings a lot of pain to the heart. Okay, the lover feels very sad about it, and the beloved also suffers very much about it. And this lover, having grown a big beard, and keeps on singing some songs in the movies, and here and there you might have seen that, and he thinks, yaad aa rahi hai, teri yaad aa rahi hai, याद आने से तेरी जाने से जान जा रही है. So he sings that song very pathetically and all that, but only God has to look into this case. So that is called the pain of separation. And next, the pain of unrequited love. That means, unrequited love means unresponded love. Take for granted, the girl looks at the boy and smiles at him, and immediately the boy thinks that the girl is in love with him, and he just gets into the dreamland and keeps on singing love songs and all that. In the movies you might have seen that somebody sings like this: दर्दे दिल दर्दे जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने, दर्दे दिल दर्दे जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने. So some kind of song, you might have heard in the movies. And the next, another kind of pain of love is there. That is pain of jealousy. Pain of jealousy means, take for granted, the girl talks to her cousin or some other boy, and then this lover gets very jealous of that thing, and that brings him a lot of pain. And in all these cases, the pain will be to the heart immediately. And the next, another thing is also there: pain of betrayal. Pain of betrayal is also there. That means sometimes what happens, the girl or the boy will give hand to the other person. Most of the times, the girl gives a hand to the boy, or the boy gives a hand to the girl, and then that kind of thing will bring an immense pain to the heart, a lot of pain to the heart. You know that very well. And next comes the pain of loss. The pain of loss means, suppose because of some reason or the other, one of the lovers is dead. Then what happens? The other lover feels very sad about that, and that brings him or her a lot of pain. You know that very well. Okay, so that is called pain of loss. I think any one of them does not fit to this Shakespeare, except this pain of loss, because Shakespeare has got three children. Okay, first one is Susanna. Okay, Susanna, and the next two are twins, very well, and Hamlet, that is the boy, and Judith is Shakespeare's twin daughter. Okay, Hamlet and Judith, these are the twins, and Susanna, his elder daughter. Okay, and here unfortunately this Hamlet dies in his young age, and this pain of loss can be seen in most of his tragedies. Okay, whatever it is, all these things will bring a lot of pain to the heart, and they are therefore called pains of love. And here now the poet says he wants to mourn freshly over the old pains of love that were already over, and that is the meaning of this line. And you go to the fourth line of this stanza: and mourn the expense of many a vanished sight. He also mourns, okay, and he also mounts the expense. Expense means the loss of many a vanished sight. Many a means many, that is the meaning. Vanished sight means, the joys, the happy moments, okay, the beloved friends, and memorable experiences. All those things are called vanished sight. He mounts the loss of many of his joys, happy moments, beloved friends, and memorable experiences. So this is all about the second stanza. Let me now give you the meaning of this third quatrain, and then can I grieve at grievances foregone. Here grieve means again lament. Okay, lament or mourn, that is the meaning you take from this. And he wants to lament, or he wants to mourn what? The grievances. Again, this is what? A legal term. Grievance means a complaint. Generally you make a complaint to the court, okay, and therefore it is a legal term. And grievances means here, in other words, sorrows foregone. Foregone means already experienced, that is the meaning. Already experienced or passed by, that is the meaning. Passed by, already passed by. That means, he laments the sorrows that were already passed by. And next, heavily from woe to woe tell over. How does he want to lament? He wants to lament tell over. Tell over means what? Count one by one, one by one. That is called tell over. That means the poet wants to count one by one all his sorrows, and O to O means all his sorrows, and he mourns bitterly. So in this way, the poet remembers his grievances that were already experienced by this poet, and now the poet wants to mourn all those sorrows, counting them one by one. So that is the meaning of these two lines. And now you go to the meaning of the third line, the sad account of four bemoaned mourn. Very simple. So the sad account, this account is a financial term or monetary term, you know that very well. And a sad account means what? A sad record. A sad record of what? Of four bemoaned. Four means already. Okay. Bemoaned means lamented. And mourn means what? Sorrows. Okay. And a sad record of already lamented sorrows, which I knew pay. New means once again. Pay means what? Mourn. Which I knew pay means a sad record of already lamented sorrows. He wants to once again mourn, pay, as if not paid before, as though they were not lamented earlier, as though they were not mourned earlier. That is the meaning of this, as if not paid before. He wants to remember the sad record of already lamented sorrows. That is the first point. And once again, he wants to mourn as if they were not mourned by him earlier. So that is the meaning of these two lines. Now you move on to concluding lines of this poem. But if the while I think on thee, dear friend, this is called alter or turn. No, in these three quatrains, the poet is presenting all his sorrows, all his losses, all his past experiences, and now he is showing some kind of relief in these concluding lines. And in this 13th line, you can find this alter. That means the turn of the thought, the change of the thought. And here the poet says, and if the while means what? During all this, okay, all this sorrow. That while means during all this sorrow. If means here, let us say, when I think of thee, my dear friend. That means during all this sorrow, when I remember my dear friend, what happens? All losses are restored. That means all worries, all sorrows, all problems he feels are gone, are cleared, and sorrows end. And he feels that all his sorrows have come to an end. That means, the poet feels some kind of relief or some kind of consolation, some kind of comfort, because all his losses are restored. They are gone. They are vanished. They have come to an end. They are over. Now what happens? A peace of mind, a tranquility of mind will dawn on this poet. So this is all about this poem, and I hope you have understood this poem. If you have still any problem, you please bring it to my notice. And now let me give you the summary of this poem very briefly. Okay, now look at the summary of the poem. Summary of Sonnet 30 in detail. Okay, and here one day the poet brings back to the sessions court of his mind whatever I have taught you while explaining the poem. I have given you the same matter here. Don't worry about that. If you read this, you can easily understand the poem. Okay, and one day the poet brings back to the sessions court of his mind one by one all his memories of past experience that are both pleasant, sweet, and painful, silent, so as to examine all of them carefully, just like a judge who reviews old cases impartially. This is very simple and very easy, and whatever I have taught you, whatever I have explained in the poem, the same matter is given here. You go to the next paragraph. During this self-examination, so bringing back to the sessions court of his mind all his past experiences is nothing but self-examination or introspection. The poet feels very sad about the failure of achieving many things. What are those things? Goals, desires, ambitions, and so on. He wanted to achieve in his life. Actually, he wanted to achieve all these goals and desires, but he could not achieve them. He failed totally in achieving all of them, and that is why he is feeling very sad about them. Okay, and he remembers his old woes, sorrows, and cries again afresh. Afresh means again, freshly, while regretting the time he has wasted or lost. This point also you know pretty well. Now you move on to the remaining part of the summary. He drowns, that means fills his eyes in tears. He drowns his eyes in tears. That means he starts crying, even though he is not used to it. He is not used to crying. He is not accustomed to crying, but he is crying now. Why? Because his precious friends means most intimate and beloved friends who were hidden or buried in the eternal silence of death, they are no more now. And he also mourns the loss of joys, happy moments, good people, memorable experiences that are gone by forever from his life. Okay, because he lost his joys, his happy moments, good people, memorable experiences, and all these things have passed by from his life, and therefore he is mourning the loss of all of them. And you go to the next paragraph. He feels grief again over the troubles that passed by. He feels grief again over the troubles that passed by. He remembers those troubles and he feels grief again. And he feels grief stricken, counting all his sorrows one by one. And he remembers all his sorrows, counting them one by one. Okay. And he feels very sorry. Okay, he feels very sad, and he also bewails the old sorrows he has already lamented. He also bewails what? He also mourns the old sorrows he has already lamented. He has already experienced it. He has already felt it. But even then, now he remembers all of them, and he bewails or he laments. He once again terribly bemoans all those pains which he once suffered bitterly in the past. In the past, he suffered all those sorrows very bitterly. Now he remembers all of them, and he feels as if they were now present before him. That is the point. This is the last paragraph. But in the concluding lines, when he thinks of his dear friend who was dead and gone. This friend is also no more, but whenever he remembers his dear friend, what happens? All his sadness, all his grief, all his sorrows will at once vanish, disappear, and he will feel a great deal of, a lot of relief and comfort and solace. So the summary is also given in the very simple terms, in the simple and easy and understandable language. Hope you will definitely read all this summary and understand the meaning of this poem. And with this summary and the explanation of the poem will come to an end. Now we are going to take up the literary devices that have been employed by Shakespeare in this beautiful sonnet. Hello dear grade 2 teacher aspirants. Now I am going to deal with the literary devices that have been employed in this poem by William Shakespeare. Here you pay attention. Metaphor is there. Metaphor means the direct comparison, okay, without using the words like and as. In the simile, you use the words like and as, okay, and compare the things. In metaphor, you don't use like or as, okay, that is not there. So for example, simile, what is that? He is like a snake. What are you doing? You are comparing this man with this snake, and you are using the word like. He is like a snake. That means he is very poisonous like a snake. That is the meaning here. And this is simile. And in metaphor, what you say is, he is a snake. He is a snake means he is like a snake again. And here you have used this like. Here you have not used like. Even though the meaning of these two statements will be one and the same. He is like a snake. He is a snake. He is very poisonous. Hope you have understood what this metaphor is all about. And even then here I have given you some definition. A metaphor is an implied comparison, direct comparison between two unlike things. You know, this man, snake, unlike things. He is a human being. It's a creature. Unlike things, without using like or as. Here no like, no as is used. He directly say he is a snake. Right, and that is a metaphor. The definition is also clearly given here. What metaphor is used in this poem means, here you pay attention. Sessions of sweet silent thought. Sessions means sessions court, you know very well. And here in this poem, I have already told you that the Shakespeare compares his mind to the sessions court. Sessions court. Already I have told you this. So therefore, to this sessions court of mind, he brings all his sweet and silent thought. Sweet means pleasant thoughts. Silent means painful thoughts. Thoughts can never be always pleasant and never be painful. Therefore, here to the sessions court of his mind, the poet is bringing back all his sweet thoughts and silent thoughts. So here he is comparing his mind with this sessions court. So directly saying to my sessions court. So this is the direct comparison, and therefore this is the implied comparison. And therefore this is a metaphor, and the mind is compared to a courtroom or sessions court where memory is pleasant, painful or summoned in order to be judged impartially. The meaning of that is also clearly given here. And one more example I think I have given you here. A sad account. Sad account means a record of sorrows. I have already told you about this. And expenses means emotional loss. Pay means feeling sorrows, feeling sad again. So here, sad account, expense, pay, these are all financial, what is that, terms. In this poem, the poet has made use of several financial terms and legal terms. For example, this sessions is there. It's a legal term. Someone is there. It's a legal term. So in this way, in this poem, Shakespeare makes use of many financial terms and legal terms, and whatever it is, by mentioning these financial terms, he is comparing life and sorrow. Through these words, he is making some implied comparison. So in this way, you can find in these two examples the metaphor, right? Alliteration. Alliteration means, you know very well, the repetition of the same consonantal sound at the beginning of closely, the repetition of same consonantal sound, okay, in the line. Here you pay attention. Sessions of sweet silent thought. Sa, sa, sa. This is called alliteration. Sessions of sweet silent thought, right? And death's dateless night. Da, da. So same sound is repeated. If the consonantal sounds are repeated in a sentence, that's called alliteration. If the vowel sounds are repeated, that is called assonance, you know very well. About all these literary terms also, I am going to make a video for you, right? And here, old ose, new veil, my dear waist. Wah, wah, wah. So here. In these three examples, you can find alliteration. And note, alliteration adds musical quality to the verse. Why do the poets make use of this kind of alliteration? Means only to lend musical quality to the verse or to the poem. Personification. All of you know pretty well about this literary device. Giving human qualities to abstract ideas or non-human objects. Giving human qualities to the abstract ideas or non-human objects. So what abstract idea is given this human quality means? Let us now look at this. Death's dateless night. So here death is an abstract idea. It has no shape at all. It has no form at all. But death is personified. Dateless night. Death is said to have no date at all. Dateless means eternal. Night means its literal meaning is darkness, you know very well. And night also means silence. And death's dateless night means in the eternal silence of death. So this death is supposed to have eternal silence. So in this way, this death is given the human qualities. And you go to the next one. Death is presented as a timeless night. It has no time at all, making it feel vast, permanent and emotionally overwhelming. So this death is said to be vast, permanent and emotionally overwhelming, right? Imagery. Imagery means mental pictures are called imagery. You visualize something while you are reading some story, isn't it? So that kind of mental picture is called imagery. You know that very well. And here, language that appeals to the senses and creates mental pictures, that is called imagery. So one example is given here: drown an eye unused to flow, and here, precious friends hid in death's dateless night. So here in these two lines you can find a beautiful imagery, visual picture. What is that? Drown an eye. That means, fill eyes with tears. Fill eyes with tears. Okay, drown an eye means fill eyes with tear. And here the poet says, yes, his eyes are filled with tears. And this kind of thing is not habitual to him. When are his eyes filled with tears means when he remembers his precious friends that were hid. Hid means that were buried in death's dateless night. That means in the eternal silence of death. So whenever he remembers his precious friends who were buried in the eternal silence of death, his eyes are filled with tears. So when you read these two lines, what happens? You will get some kind of beautiful picture. Visual and emotional images help the reader feel the depth of sorrow experienced by the poet. When you read these things, automatically some kind of picture will flash on your mental screen, and you also feel that depth of the thought, depth of that feeling and all that. Repetition. What is this repetition? Here you pay attention. Repeated use of words or ideas for emphasis is called a repetition. And here you pay attention. Repetition of oh, mourn, grieve. These three words are repeatedly used in this poem. That is therefore called repetition. And here you pay attention. This repetition highlights high sorrows written again and again during remembrance. This repetition highlights the fact that the sorrows will return to man again and again. Okay, during his remembrance and all that. And you go to the next one, antithesis. Antithesis means what? A contrast of opposing ideas in balanced expression. What is that? Here, first 12 lines deal with grief and loss, you know very well. And the last couplet or the last two lines bring comfort and restoration. So in this way, these two feelings are balanced. These two opposing ideas are balanced. Okay, so this is therefore called antithesis. Alter or turn, this is a very important aspect. And in Shakespearean sonnets, you can find this alter after 3 quatrains. That means between 3 quatrains and the last couplet, you find this alter. So that means alter is nothing but the turn of the thought. In the first 3 quatrains, the poet will mention some problem, and in the last couplet he will mention its solution. So that is there. So here a sudden change in thought or emotional direction in a sonnet, that is called turn or alter. So in this line 13 only, this alter takes place or the turn takes place. What is this line? But if the while I think on thee, dear friend. So this line changes the entire scenario. Okay, here what is the meaning of this? You know already, I have taught you this line. Okay, and here the but if the while means what? During all this sorrow I think on thee. That means when I think of you, my dear friend, during all this sorrow, when I think of you, my dear friend, what happens? All my sorrows are gone. All my worries are gone. I'll get comfort. I'll get solace. I'll get some relief and all that. So that is what this Volta tells us here. Right. The note is also given here. The poem shifts from despair to consolation, which is typical of Shakespeare's sonnets. In almost all the sonnets of Shakespeare, this kind of shift you can find. Okay. From question to answer, from despair to consolation and all such things. And you go to the 8th one, oxymoron. Oxymoron means what? A combination of 2 contradictory words. What is oxymoron? A combination of 2 contradictory words. What is that? Yes, sweet silent thought. So sweet means pleasant. I have already told you about this. Silent means painful. So sweet silent thought means thoughts can be both sweet and painful. So that's why these 2 contradictory words are put side by side. That's called oxymoron. And other examples are also there. Clearly confused, living dead. These are all oxymorons. Regularly irregular. How does Mohan come to college? He is regularly irregular. Regularly saying and again irregularly. Sweet thought you are saying, again painful. Sweet silent thought. When these two contradictory words are put together to form one meaningful idea, then that is called oxymoron. Okay, and here thought, contemplation or self-examination, and is silent, yet it is described as sweet, suggesting pleasant and pain and remembering the past. Okay, and here this explanation is also given. Legal financial imagery. So I have already told you that William Shakespeare has made use of several legal and financial terms in this poem Sonnet 30. And legal terminology you can find, financial terminology also you can find. Legal terminology means in the very first line you can come across the word sessions. Sessions is nothing but a sessions court, where the judge will be examining the case very carefully and impartially. So that sessions court you know very well. And there is a summon. Summon is a word generally used by the court. So it's an official call to come and attend before the judge or before a court. So that kind of call is called a legal term, summon. You know very well. So suggestions, summon, that is legal imagery. Financial means a sad record, expense, pay, and all such things are also there. So here let me give you use of legal or monetary terms to express abstract emotions. Here you pay attention. Sessions, account, expense, pay. Already I have told you about all these things. So all these terms are used. And grief is treated like a debt, repeatedly paid, showing how memory renews sorrow. Right. Explanation is also given here very clearly. You can read it. And the last one here is Shakespearean sonnet form. What is the Shakespearean sonnet form? You know very well. A 14-line poem is always a sonnet, written in an iambic pentameter, you know very well, with a specific rhyme scheme. What is that rhyme scheme? Rhyme scheme is AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. You know that very well. The final rhyming couplet provides a resolution or solution or answer to the problem mentioned in these three quatrains. Okay, and emotional closure, right? And with this the literary devices that have been employed in this poem will come to an end. Hello dear grade 2 teacher aspirants. So here I am going to give you some exercise. Please check your comprehension of the poem Sonnet 30 by answering all the questions on your own. And for your convenience, I have also provided the answer key at the end of this exercise. Please check your answers with the answers provided at the end of this exercise. Okay, right. And let us now take up the exercise. First question. Sonnet 30 is mainly a poem of political protest, meditation on memory and loss, religious devotion, social satire. Go to the second question. The phrase sessions of sweet silent thought refers to a public meeting, court proceedings, quiet meditation, legal punishment. Third question. The dominant imagery in the poem is drawn from nature, war, law and finance, religion. Fourth question. Death's dateless night suggests temporary sleep, fear of darkness, timelessness of death, night travel. Fifth question. The speaker's sorrow is mainly caused by present suffering, future fear, past memories, social injustice. Sixth question. The legal metaphor in the poem suggests that grief is avoidable, forgotten, repeatedly counted, imaginary. Seventh question. The emotional turn in the poem occurs at line 4, line 8, line 13, line 10. Eighth question. The dear friend represents a political leader, a beloved companion, God, the poet's enemy. Ninth question. Unused to flow indicates habitual crying, emotional restraint, physical illness, joy. 10th question. The final couplet expresses despair, irony, consolation, anger. 11th question. The tone of the first 12 lines is joyful, nostalgic and sorrowful, humorous, optimistic. 12th question. The word expense means money, physical pain, emotional loss, travel cost. 13th question. The repetition of O and moan emphasizes happiness, forgetfulness, continuous grief, anger. 14th question. The poem's meter is free verse, trochaic tetrameter, iambic pentameter, anapestic trimeter. 15th question. Sonnet 30 belongs to the Petrarchan sonnet tradition, Spenserian sonnet tradition, Shakespearean sonnet tradition, Miltonic sonnet tradition. 16th question. The phrase sad account implies financial loss, legal failure, record of sorrows, historical document. 17th question. The poem suggests memory is always pleasant, completely painful, painful but healing, meaningless. 18th question. For bemoaned moan is an example of irony, tautology, paradox, pun. 19th question. The rhyme scheme of the final couplet is AB, CC, GG, DD. 20th question. The poem ultimately celebrates time, death, friendship and love, wealth. 21st question. The phrase things past in the poem mainly refers to historical events, childhood games, past experiences and memories, ancient traditions. 22nd question. The speaker's grief is described as being new and sudden, imaginary and unreal, repeated and cumulative, shallow and brief. 23rd question. I knew pay as if not paid before means the speaker forgets past sorrows. Old sorrows feel as painful as new ones. The speaker enjoys remembering grief. Grief disappears quickly. 24th question. The word summon reinforces the image of magic, war, court of law, religion. 25th question. The sonnet shows that thinking of the dear friend results in increased sorrow, confusion, emotional relief, forgetfulness of memory. 26th question. The expression vanished sight suggests loss of eyesight, disappeared visual pleasures or experiences, night blindness, physical injury. 27th question. The mood of the poem at the beginning is best described as cheerful, mocking, reflective and melancholic. Melancholic means sorrowful and all that you know very well. Hopeful. 28th question. The legal and financial imagery in the poem mainly helps to make the poem humorous, describe social injustice, structure emotional suffering, criticize the legal system. 29th question, the last but one question of this exercise is, the sonnet presents time as a healer, a destroyer of happiness, a neutral force, a joyful companion. 30th question, the last question of this exercise is, the final couplet of the poem emphasizes the permanence of death, the power of memory alone, the redemptive power of friendship, the fear of the future. And with this small exercise will come to an end. Now let us have a look at the answers given. These are the answers for the questions from 1 to 10. These are the answers for the questions from 11 to 21. These are the answers for the questions from 22 to 30. With this video will come to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have still any more problems in understanding the poem, please make a mention of it in the comment section. I am here to answer all your questions and doubts. I request all of you to support me and encourage me, because your support will be my great inspiration. I want to serve you very selflessly, honestly and sincerely. Please let me continue in that spirit. And in the queue, there are a few more things ready to be uploaded. Milton's On His Having Arrived at the Age of 23 and William Wordsworth's The Solitary Reaper. These poems are just ready. They will be uploaded as soon as possible. And another important thing is clause analysis and sentence patterns. I shall be uploading all those things. I will deal with all the aspects of your syllabus. According to the new syllabus, I am making all these videos. And if you want to text me your problems, your issues, related to the syllabus and videos, please make use of my WhatsApp number given in the description. And with another video, I shall be back to you. Until then, bye. See you. I love you.